A Nefarious Nightmare contains themes that may be explicit or triggering for some. Specific warnings and disclaimers will be mentioned in the show notes. A Nefarious Nightmare assumes all parties that are mentioned in these cases to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Welcome to Season 4.
On February 7th, 1999, Erica Baker stepped out of her small home in Kettering, Ohio, wearing her raincoat and leashed up her beloved dog. She was on her way to the local park. It was a cold, rainy winter afternoon. Little did anyone know that this would be the last time that they would ever see Erica.
Neighbors, family members, and investigators have searched for answers ever since that fateful day. But 24 years later, the unanswered questions remain. What happened to Erica in that park that day? Did someone snatch her away, or did she wander off and get lost? The possibilities are endless, and the investigation still haunts the community. With that, I'm Courtney Fenner.
And I'm Amanda Cronin, and A Nefarious Nightmare presents Taken Away, the disappearance of Erica Baker.
To start, this case came at the request of an anonymous listener. We feel that this case is one that firmly aligns with what we typically cover, so to the listener that requested this, thank you.
And you will find that many cases this season come at the requests of listeners, so this will make for an interesting season. We have to get justice for all of these cases. If justice hasn't been served, and we have to remember and help aim for closure and peace to those who are solved.
Erica Baker was born June 22nd, 1989. She was a sweet and loving 9-year-old little girl with a passion for pink. She was also a cheerleader for her elementary school's Wee Wildcats. Erica was fond of bowling and roller skating, and she also enjoyed playing pool, reading Winnie the Pooh books, and working on her science project about the sun. Her favorite book was How Angels Got Their Wings, and it never left the shelf near her bed. Erica was a loving and generous soul who was always ready to give a hug and help those in need.
On February 7th, 1999, Erica was last seen walking her aunt's dog in her Kettering neighborhood near Kettering Rec Center. At 2:30 p.m. earlier that day, Erica, along with her brothers, returned home after a weekend visit with their father. Around 5 p.m., 2 hours after her disappearance, the Baker's dog was found on its leash without Erica.
At around 3:30 that day, Erica had asked her mother if she could take their Shih Tzu for a walk in their Kettering neighborhood, which is a Dayton suburb located 55 miles north of Cincinnati. Initially, her mother had denied their request as it was a cloudy and raining day, and she was worried that Erica might catch a cold. But Erica was insistent on walking the dog near the Kettering Recreation Center, despite her mother's protests. She even went as far as to promise that she would wear her raincoat over her beloved Winnie the Pooh sweater. Her mother reluctantly agreed and has not seen Erica since that day.
Crews reportedly began the search for the missing girl on the night of February 7th, 1999 at a pond at the Kettering Rec Center. Hundreds of volunteers came out to help with the search for the missing girl's body, while law enforcement drained the 2.9 million gallon retention pond. Unfortunately, their efforts were unsuccessful, and not even a single piece of her clothing was found. So 36 of her friends and family, police dogs, were all sent out to look for her. The following day at 8 a.m. on Monday, February 8th, 1999, hundreds of volunteers and police joined the efforts to locate her, scouring the area for any clues. Retired Kettering Police Department Detective Bob Green has since referred to the search for Baker as a quote-unquote roller coaster. As many searches failed to bring any results, Melissa Baker and Pam Schmidt both later testified that Erica could read and write, knew her address, and knew how to use a telephone.
The week following Erica's disappearance, A command post was established at the KRC with a telephone hotline and police officers assigned to operate it. For the next 3 months, the command post was located at the Woodman Drive and Dorothy Lane Shopping Center, and then moved to Van Buren Shopping Center. The telephone lines remained active until 2004. Greg Baker and his girlfriend, Karen Ginter, were largely responsible for setting up the recovery center.
The disappearance of thousands of children had a devastating effect on communities from Ohio to California. In Germantown, Ohio, a pink poo shirt was found in the mud, prompting the police to bring in bloodhounds to search the area. Despite their efforts, no leads were found. The police also rounded up numerous sex predators from Montgomery, Greene, and Clark counties, yet no information was discovered. The newspapers remained mostly silent about the case, and on Saturday, March 13, 1999, parents and volunteers came together to pass out posters, put up yellow ribbons, and raise funds to continue the search for missing children.
Erica and Katie Wolford were childhood best friends. They were inseparable from the time that they were in diapers. Katie had always imagined they would grow old together, spending their days in a nursing home. Erica was a social butterfly and loved family gatherings. She was always full of energy and had a mischievous streak. She was a daddy's girl, quote unquote. Greg Baker, Erica's dad, who shared the same blue eyes as Erica, cherished their time together fishing and still regrets not taking her to the daddy-daughter dance that was happening the same time that she disappeared. He had sadly forgotten to buy tickets. After dropping his kids off at their mom's house, he then went to the Dayton Mall, the $4 shoe store, and then home, where he watched a television show about dogs that sniff out criminals. Quote, "She was a very outdoorsy girl. She could be a princess too on top of it," Greg had said. The community was deeply affected by Erica's disappearance. Some customers in the grocery store becoming too upset, causing the store to ask Greg to leave.
In July 1999, a news person interviewed Erica's teacher in order to explain how she was helping the children cope with Erica's absence. Throughout the year, the children kept Erica's desk full of her things and placed worksheets there every day as if she were coming back. Misty Baker and the reporter discussed Erica's artwork and talked about her as a person who is alive and will be returning to finish her work. To honor Erica, the teacher and children had a special ceremony where they put a star in a tree so the kids could make a wish for her. This was a way for the children to feel connected to Erica and to keep her memory alive.
Erica's grandmother, Pam, works hard to keep her granddaughter's memory alive every day. Erica lived with Pam and her mom and brothers at the time of her disappearance. Her mother, Misty, remembers frantically searching the neighborhood, school park, and friends' houses before calling the police. As soon as 911 was called, the police arrived in minutes and a helicopter was soon circling the area. Kim Hess described Erica as the friendliest child in the world to a Dayton Daily News reporter after her disappearance. Hess had worked as a playroom supervisor at Erica's elementary school and was familiar with her. She noted that it was normal to see Erica walking around, smiling and waving at everyone.
The couple who found Erica's dog were, of course, brought in and questioned. The man in particular was even hypnotized while being questioned. According to his recollection, it was raining and they had gotten out of the car preparing to walk their dog with umbrellas and raincoats. He said he had seen a little girl with a hood up and no umbrella and a dog near the football field by the rec center. After their walk, they spotted a scared dog running in the rain and he went up to it at this point and it did not run away, but instead it went with them. There were no cars or people around, making the area look very deserted, he said.
Now, James Pardon was first identified as a possible suspect in this case. Pardon's girlfriend at the time found child pornography on his computer and turned him in. He was convicted for that, but was out of jail a mere month later. Furthermore, Pardon had been investigated in the John Benet Ramsey case and the Elizabeth Miller case, and he did live close to them in Colorado. Newspaper clippings were discovered of both Elizabeth and Jean Benet. It is so disgusting to just know that someone so vile is out and about in society.
Christian John Gabriel of Springfield was also questioned shortly after Erica's death as a possible witness. On February 23, 1999, Gabriel had sold the van to Kevin Smith, and the van was impounded by the Dayton Police Department. On July 14, 1999, Kettering detectives Steve Driscoll and Rick Renner went to Gabriel's apartment near Jefferson, Ohio. They knocked on the door, identified themselves, and asked to speak with Gabriel. Gabriel allowed them in, and they explained that they were investigating the Erica Baker case. They advised Gabriel of his constitutional rights, and he agreed to speak with them. They spoke for about 15 to 20 minutes in his bedroom, and after the conversation, Gabriel agreed to ride with the officers to the Kettering Police Department for a more in-depth interview.
Driscoll described the conversation at the house and in the car as very relaxed and, quote, lighthearted at times. They even stopped for fast food on the way. Gabriel was not handcuffed, and there were no threats or promises made. After arriving at the Kettering Police Department, Gabriel spoke with Detective Shaw. Now, Shaw did testify that Gabriel was informed of his Miranda rights and voluntarily waived them, and that he was not mistreated, physically abused, threatened, or given any promises. Shaw could not recall if Gabriel ate or drank, but indicated that he usually offers water. After the conversation, Gabriel was returned to his home, and detectives had no further contact with him until April of 2004. And also in July of 1999, the van in question was taken to the Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory, where the forensic scientists found no evidence linking the van to Erica Baker.
The Kettering detectives had no further contact with Gabriel until April 6, 2004, when they reinitiated contact with him about the Erica Baker case. Detective Robert Green and Lieutenant Wendell Wilcox of the Kettering Police Department approached Gabriel in a vacant parking lot at the rear of a house in Springfield, Ohio. After Gabriel waived his Miranda rights, the officers spoke with him for approximately 15 minutes. During the interview, Green asserted that Gabriel was not placed under arrest, nor had he been giving any promises or threats. Furthermore, Green described the conversation as cordial and without any confrontation whatsoever. Gabriel did indicate that he had lent his van to the Smith on February 7, 1999. Following that interview, Kettering police officers attempted to conduct surveillance of Gabriel in hope that Gabriel would lead them to Erica's body, but their surveillance was unsuccessful and ceased after 6 sporadic days.
On July 19, 2004, Green was contacted by Detective Jim Davis of the Clark County Sheriff's Office, who informed Green that Gabriel was going to be arrested on a warrant for receiving stolen property and asked whether his arrest would compromise the Kettering investigation. Green indicated that it would not, but stated that he would be very interested if Gabriel said anything about the Erica Baker case. While Gabriel was smoking outside the sheriff's office, he stated that he was the passenger in the van that struck that girl. Alexander and Deputy Wise then took Gabriel to an interview room where he was read his Miranda rights and waived them.
Gabriel expressed concern that he was going to jail, but Alexander assured him that he would not be held on the receiving stolen property charges that day. During the interview, Gabriel stated that he would be willing to take the officers to Erica's grave, and Green entered the interview room to confirm Gabriel had been advised of his rights and that he had waived them. After searching the Huffman Dam, Gabriel agreed to talk with Green the following day to provide more information on Erica's possible whereabouts. Gabriel was then processed on the receiving stolen property charge and taken home after they could not find Erica at the dam.
On November 19, 2004, Green and Alexander met with Gabriel at the Corrections Reception Center, or also known as CRC, in Orient, Ohio, where he was an inmate. Gabriel waived his Miranda rights and they spoke for approximately 1.5 hours, during which Gabriel made an oral statement. Green testified that Gabriel was angry during this meeting and said that he was, quote, tired of this, and blamed the Kettering police for, quote, messing up his life. Green also stated that Gabriel was not threatened, did not receive any promises, and was not mistreated. On December 21, 2004, Green and Wilcox picked up Gabriel from CRC and he executed another Miranda form before leaving.
Gabriel made oral statements en route to Kettering and directed officers from the Meyer store in Kettering to other locations in Kettering and Dayton, as well as Caesars Creek. Afterward, Gabriel was taken to the Kettering jail and requested a map of Caesars Creek to review over the evening. The next day, Gabriel showed Green a location at Caesars Creek and made additional statements before being returned to CRC. On January 12, 2005, Green and Kettering detective Vohringer spoke with Gabriel at CRC. Green indicated that they had searched Caesars Park and they did not believe that Gabriel had been honest with them. Green testified that no promises or threats were made.
He was not indicted until 2005, due in part to statements made by his then-girlfriend, Jan Franks. According to Franks, they were driving together when their van struck and killed the girl, after which they then hid the body. Charges were not pressed until many years later, despite Jan Franks' statement.
Prosecutors were faced with a difficult decision when they felt like they did not have enough evidence to charge Gabriel with homicide. With the deadline to charge him with lesser charges quickly approaching, they decided to take a risk and charge him with tampering with evidence and gross abuse of a corpse, even though no corpse was ever found. This was, of course, a really risky move, but one that the prosecutors felt was just necessary. Gabriel was found guilty of committing gross abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence.
It was alleged that Gabriel had treated the late Erica's corpse in a way that was not only disrespectful, but also denied her family the right to a proper burial. Moreover, the prosecution had also argued that Gabriel had tampered with evidence by moving the body from its original location where she was hit by the van. In order for Gabriel's statements to be admissible as evidence for either offense, there had to be independent evidence that indicated that Erica Baker was in fact dead and that a corpse was present.
Erica told police 3 different versions of what happened regarding the death of Erica. In 2 of the versions, he claimed to have been in a van that struck the girl, though the driver and other occupants of the van changed between accounts, as did Erica's supposed burial spot. In the 3rd version, Gabriel said he had nothing to do with Erica's death at all. His lawyer argued that Gabriel only confessed because he had been browbeaten by the police. After 3 hours of deliberation, the jury convicted Gabriel and a judge imposed a 6-year sentence. Upon his release, Gabriel moved to Florida.
When Gabriel was released from prison, it was Erica's grandmother who was there to greet him. She drove him away from the prison and took him out to a restaurant in order to try and get some answers about Erica's whereabouts. It was clear that she was determined to do whatever she could to locate her granddaughter and bring her home.
During Christian Gabriel's trial, prosecutors played a videotape of an interview with Gabriel in which he told police he was riding in a van that struck and killed 9-year-old Erica as she was walking her dog on a rainy Sunday afternoon in February 1999. He said he and 3 others in the van had been partying and he was drunk when he heard the thud. He said that they discussed what to do with Erica and he thought they were going to drive her to a hospital, but instead they drove her to a park and he stayed in the van while the others dumped her body. Prosecutors claimed Gabriel wasn't telling the whole truth and he was driving the van when it hit Erica and buried her body. Gabriel's attorney claimed police coerced Gabriel's testimony and Jan Franks, another person in the van believed to have knowledge of Erica's death. Unfortunately, Jan Franks passed away in 2001 due to a drug overdose, 4 years before Gabriel's case was actually presented to a grand jury. But Jan's attorney had resisted, citing attorney-client privilege. But 3 years later, Lewis testified before a secret grand jury, though details of her testimony remained unknown.
Greg Baker, Erica's father, pled with Gabriel to lead them to their daughter's remains, but Gabriel denied any knowledge. His possible motivation for denying his knowledge is that there is no statute of limitation on a murder charge. This case has been the source of distress for not only Erica's family, but for the entire community as well. It has been a haunting reminder of the tragedy that occurred and the fact that the murderer has yet to be brought to justice. Despite the conviction of Gabriel, investigators and authorities have continued to search for Erica in the years since, and the search is still ongoing here in 2023.
This month will be 24 years since Erica Baker disappeared, and her family is still seeking closure. New drone technology may help them get answers they are looking for, though. Hopefully. Greg Baker was seen on an interview returning to the same spot Erica went missing. He says he can't help but just remember the events of his daughter's disappearance. He says, quote, "It seems like yesterday and it's still fresh in my mind when everything went down," end quote. Despite the time that has passed, the pain of the situation remains.
Baker had expressed determination to keep searching for his daughter, despite the difficulty of the situation. Quote, "It's a little rough. I mean, we live out here in Kettering, but it's something we have to do for her, and we have to be diligent about it," he added. He believes that there is still someone who knows what happened to his daughter, and he has not given up hope that he will be able to find her. Quote, "There's one person that still knows exactly what's going on, and unfortunately, he was let out of prison, served 6 years, and then left the state of Ohio very quickly." Baker noted that.
Hackett said in 2017 that, quote, "A child gone missing is every parent's worst nightmare turned into reality," end quote. His words serve to reassure families that their resolve to bring their child home will be joined and supported by the public. He states that it's this responsibility of those in the public to do all that they can to inform others and support any efforts to bring the missing child home, no matter how much time has passed.
In 2019, a new law was passed in Ohio that marks May 25th as Ohio National Missing Children's Day. This mirrors the national and international decree for that day. According to Ohio Senator Matt Baker, this law is important for the families of missing children as it serves as a reminder that their loved ones are not forgotten. It is a unifying symbol for all those affected by the tragedy of missing children.
Green stated that even after the conviction of Gabriel, they have continued to conduct searches based on other tips. He mentioned that they have an area that they are looking at, and when the weather gets warmer, that they will check to see if they can find anything.
Also, new drone technology is being developed to easily detect disrupted ground as far back as 2 decades, and police and EquiSearch are eager to put the software to work. The developer is working with a body farm in Texas to test the technology and its potential to find graves. The community has been supportive of the search for Erica Baker, and her family is determined to keep pressing forward until they find out what happened to her.
Kettering police are asking anyone who has information about Erica Baker's disappearance to call them at 937-296-2555. Greg Baker has said, quote, "There's no way we could ever repay these people back for the countless and thousands of hours that they have put in. Blood, sweat, and tears to find Erica," end quote. Baker has created a final resting place for his daughter at David's Cemetery, but he is determined to never stop searching until he knows exactly where her remains are buried.
Before we wrap today's episode up, just a friendly reminder that we will be at the 2023 True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival in Austin, Texas. And that's going to be August 25th through 27th. So come see us. I cannot wait to see Dawn from Method and Madness. She did a mini-series on a case that we have also covered about Kristen O'Connell, and I encourage everyone to go listen. We'll also see John Palmer again from a case both Method and Madness and ourselves have covered about Katie Palmer. There will be a ton of great people there, and you do not want to miss out. It's a blast, and you get to be around advocates, true crime content creators, and many different and super cool vendors. Tickets are for sale at truecrimepodcastfestival.com, and we will have stuff to give away. Don't forget to use code BEES, that's BEES, for a discount at checkout.
Also, please don't forget to join our Patreon for bonus content, such as our Not So Nefarious Criminals podcast. Each week we have a guest, and we somehow always manage to forget that we have a guest. We talk about the lighter side of crime, such as the Florida Man. We also talk about weird Facebook scams. It's fucking hilarious and just a good time, so that makes for a great palate cleanser. You also get to hear archived content that we chose to take off the public feed. So go, join Patreon, starting at only $3 a month. That's the price of a gallon of gas. But, I mean, we all have to make sacrifices. Speaking of sacrifices, please join our Patreon so we can afford to go to the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival that Courtney just talked about.
Erica Baker was a bee. There is no way around that. She was a bee, as well as her family. And at just 9 years old, she was taken away. We want to see the family get their closure. We want justice to be served. And like all bees, Erica and her family are strong, resilient, and yet they're vulnerable. We must protect the bees at all costs. For without bees, we as a human race are doomed. So, be vigilant. For when you mess with the bees,
you get the hive.
Thank you for listening to A Nefarious Nightmare. Music used in the theme was originally recorded by Ghost Stories Incorporated, remixed by Ryan RCX Murphy. Additional background music is provided by Epidemic Sound. A Nefarious Nightmare is scripted, researched, and produced by Courtney Finner and Amanda Cronin. This podcast is a Cloud 10 podcast managed by Sim Sarna, Sahiba Krieger, and Jamie Rice of Murderish and Dirty Money Moves. You can help us grow our show by leaving us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Or you can join our Patreon for lighthearted bonus content. Thank you, and as always, be vigilant.